Can Iraq really reduce the value of the US dollar? A deep dive into the central bank's strategy. The Central Bank of Iraq, CBI, has recently made headlines with its announcement that it plans to reduce the value of the US dollar within Iraq in the coming days. This statement has sparked significant debate and speculation. Can Iraq truly influence the value of the US dollar? How will this impact the Iraqi Dinar, IQD, and the economy? And what role does the controversial Delete the Zeros project play in all of this? In this article, we will break down Iraq's strategy, explore the realities of currency valuation, and analyze whether the CBI's plan is feasible. Can Iraq control the value of the US dollar? To answer this question, we need to understand how currency values are determined. The US dollar, USD, is a global reserve currency, meaning its value is influenced by a complex mix of factors such as U.S. Federal Reserve policies, global trade balances, interest rates, investor confidence. Since Iraq does not control these factors, it cannot directly alter the value of the US dollar itself. However, what Iraq can do is manipulate the exchange rate between the Iraqi dinar and the US dollar. This means the CBI's goal is to strengthen the dinar rather than directly devalue the dollar. By strengthening the dinar, Iraq could make it appear that the US dollar is losing value in Iraq. But in reality, this would simply mean that one US dollar buys fewer Iraqi dinars than before. The Delete the Zeros project. A game changer? One of the biggest pieces of Iraq's economic strategy is the Delete the Zeros project, which has been discussed for years. The idea behind this project is to remove 3 zeros from the current dinar denominations. For example, a 1,000 IQD note would be redenominated to 1 IQD. Why would Iraq want to do this? The key motivations behind this project are making transactions easier. Carrying large stacks of currency can be inconvenient for both individuals and businesses, boosting confidence in the dinar. If done correctly, this could increase trust in the Iraqi currency and reduce dependence on the US dollar, increasing the purchasing power of the dinar. Theoretically, a stronger dinar means that goods and services become more affordable for Iraqi citizens. The challenges of removing zeros. While this idea sounds appealing, it is not a simple process. The biggest risks include inflation. If not managed properly, removing zeros could cause rapid inflation, hurting consumers. Public trust issues. If citizens fear that the move will devalue their savings, they may rush to convert their dinars into dollars, causing economic instability. Economic readiness. Iraq needs a stable banking system and economic infrastructure to ensure that this transition is smooth. If Iraq does not implement strong policies to manage this transition, it could lead to severe financial disruption rather than economic stability. The role of oil in Iraq's currency strength. Oil plays a critical role in the strength of the Iraqi dinar. Iraq's economy is heavily dependent on oil exports, meaning any change in oil prices directly impacts its currency value. If oil prices rise, Iraq earns more revenue, which can strengthen the dinar. If oil prices fall, the government may struggle to support the economy, leading to a weaker dinar. A prime example of this was in 2020 when oil prices crashed due to the global pandemic. Iraq's economy suffered, and the government had to take emergency measures to stabilize the dinar. What happens next? Key factors to watch. If you're following Iraq's economic situation closely, here are some key indicators to watch. 1. Oil prices. Since oil is Iraq's main economic driver, fluctuations in oil prices will have a direct impact on the dinar's strength. 2. Inflation rates. If inflation starts rising in Iraq, it could signal economic instability, which
the Central Bank of Iraq, plays a critical role in managing the dinar's value. If the government decides to pull excess dinars out of circulation, it will reduce inflationary pressure and potentially increase the currency's perceived value. For this plan to work, however, the central bank must carefully monitor inflation and ensure that there is enough currency to meet the public's needs without causing a shortage. It's a fine balancing act, and mismanagement of this strategy could lead to further instability. What does this mean for international investors? For those looking to invest in the Iraqi dinar, there are some important considerations. The removal of zeros doesn't automatically mean that the dinar will become stronger. However, if Iraq continues to tighten the currency supply, the currency could appreciate over time, creating opportunities for investors. But here's the risk. Iraq's political and economic situation is unpredictable, so investors need to exercise caution. Let's consider some real-world examples of countries that managed currency changes effectively. 1. Turkey. In recent years, Turkey reduced its currency supply, but the process didn't lead to an immediate rise in value. 2. Vietnam. Vietnam managed its currency supply effectively, and its currency has steadily appreciated over time. These examples show that managing the currency supply can take time and requires strong economic fundamentals to succeed. What are the risks and rewards? There are both potential benefits and risks to the removal of zeros and Iraq's currency management strategy. Benefits: a reduced supply of dinars could make the currency stronger, increased purchasing power for Iraqis, potential investment opportunities for foreign investors. Risks: political instability could undermine the plan. Mismanagement of currency policies, uncertainty in Iraq's broader economic outlook. Final thoughts. As we've discussed, removing zeros from the Iraqi dinar may simplify transactions, but it won't change the value of the currency itself. While this change could lead to a stronger dinar in the future, there are many factors to consider. As always, staying informed and critical thinking are key when it comes to making financial decisions in volatile situations like this. Now it's your turn. What do you think about the removal of zeros from the Iraqi dinar? Does it make sense to you? Or do you think there's more to it than just a simple number change? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and let's continue the discussion. If you found this article helpful, like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on the IQD and other currency news. Thanks for reading, and I'll see you in the next video.
Can Iraq control the value of the US dollar? A deep dive into currency reforms. Hello everyone, and welcome back to IQD to VND. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Our goal is to hit 300 subscribers by the end of March, and with your support, we can make it happen. Today, we're diving into a fascinating and highly debated topic, the Central Bank of Iraq's, CBI, recent efforts to reduce the value of the US dollar in Iraq. This announcement has raised many questions. Can Iraq really control the value of the US dollar? Is it even possible? After all, the US dollar is one of the most powerful currencies in the world. In this video, we will break down what the Central Bank of Iraq can and cannot do when it comes to currency valuation. We'll also explore the long-discussed Delete the Zeros project and its potential impact on Iraq's economy. If you're keen on understanding global financial trends, this is a topic you won't want to miss. The Central Bank of Iraq's announcement recently. The Central Bank of Iraq made headlines by stating its intention to reduce the value of the US dollar within Iraq. At first glance, this might sound like a promising move for those hoping for a stronger Iraqi dinar. However, we need to examine the details to truly understand its implications. Can Iraq control the US dollar's value? One crucial fact to remember is that the Central Bank of Iraq does not control the value of the US dollar. The dollar's strength is determined by the United States through economic policies, interest rates, trade balances, and other global financial factors. So, if Iraq cannot control the dollar itself, how can it influence the exchange rate? The answer lies in strengthening the Iraqi dinar relative to the dollar. By making the dinar stronger, the exchange rate shifts, making it appear as though the dollar is losing value inside Iraq. But in reality, what's happening is the dinar is gaining strength, which could help stabilize the economy. The Delete the Zeros project. One of the major strategies being discussed in Iraq's financial reforms is the Delete the Zeros project. This idea has been on the table for years, and the Central Bank of Iraq has periodically brought it up as a potential solution to improve the country's financial system. What is the Delete the Zeros project? The project involves removing 3 zeros from the Iraqi dinar. For example, a 1,000 dinar note would be redenominated to a 1 dinar note. The main goal behind this initiative is to simplify transactions and make the currency more manageable, ultimately boosting confidence in the dinar. Imagine a scenario where 1 IQD equals 1 USD. Instead of carrying thousands of dinars to equal $1, transactions would be much easier and more practical. This could help stabilize the economy, increase public trust in the currency, and strengthen Iraq's financial standing. The challenges of removing zeros. While this plan sounds promising, executing it is a complex process that requires a stable economic foundation. If not handled carefully, it could lead to inflation, economic instability, and a loss of trust in the dinar. The Central Bank of Iraq must be extremely cautious and transparent in implementing this transition to avoid unintended negative consequences. How will this affect Iraqi citizens? Any changes to currency policies directly impact the daily lives of Iraqi citizens. If the dinar strengthens, imported goods might become cheaper, making foreign products more affordable. However, prices of domestically produced goods could fluctuate as the economy adjusts. On the flip side, if the dinar weakens further, prices could rise, making everyday expenses more costly. This would be particularly challenging for those living on fixed incomes, as even small currency fluctuations can significantly impact their purchasing power. The role of oil in Iraq's economy. One of the most critical factors in Iraq's financial stability is oil. Iraq's economy is heavily dependent on oil revenues, and fluctuations in global oil prices directly impact the value of the dinar. If oil prices rise, Iraq benefits economically, which could help strengthen the dinar. If oil prices fall, Iraq could face financial instability, leading to a weaker dinar. A look back at 2020 provides a clear example of this dynamic. When oil prices crashed during the COVID-19 pandemic, Iraq's economy suffered severely, and the dinar's value was negatively affected. The Central Bank of Iraq had to take emergency measures to stabilize the situation. Today, while Iraq aims to reduce the dominance of the US dollar in its economy, achieving this goal requires much more than just policy announcements. It demands concrete,
higher returns on long-held currency, new opportunities for reinvestment, wealth preservation in an inflationary world. For national governments, stronger budgets, bigger infrastructure investments, enhance global credibility. Final thoughts. History in the making. Let's recap what you've just witnessed. IQD and VND are at historic highs in the forex market. Both countries are executing long-term reforms and building investor trust. A potential revaluation, once a dream, is now a growing possibility. This isn't just a currency story, it's a story about economic transformation and global financial evolution. Take action now. Whether you're a new viewer or a long-time currency holder, subscribe to our YouTube channel for real-time updates. Comment below. Are you optimistic about the revaluation of IQD and VND? How are you preparing? Share this article with friends who need to hear this breaking news. The future is unfolding right before your eyes. Don't just watch it, be part of it. Until next time, stay smart, stay informed, and stay ready.